Good. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here. I'm pleased to be here today at the Centre for Newcomers in Calgary. This is a beautiful, welcoming facility, and its staff do incredible work every single day to help newcomers feel at home in our amazing province, and I'm so grateful for their efforts. Our government is proud that so many people choose to make Alberta their home and recognize it as the best place to live, play, and raise a family. It's important that we make sure our province stays that way. And that means making sure that all Albertans have the tools they need to make the best decisions for them and their families, including when it comes to their power bills. Today, we are launching a new ad campaign to encourage Albertans to explore their electricity options. Because if they're settling for the rate of last resort, the default electricity rate, when they don't have to, they are likely to pay more for their electricity. You may be wondering why we're launching this campaign here at the Centre for Newcomers. It's because newcomers make up a large percentage of those enrolled on the rate of last resort. Many people who are just settling in the province haven't yet had a chance to learn about our uniquely competitive electricity market and the options that may be available to them. For many families, the rate of last resort is just that, a last resort and far from the best option. This campaign helps make that clear. Because when families are settling into a new place, faced with so much change, new information and expenses, they should have the peace of mind that they, if they're not getting the best rate available to them right away, they can look at their options and potentially save themselves hundreds of dollars each year. Affordability is a top concern for Albertans, and the unpredictable and rising cost of utilities is among the top affordability issues. Our government is listening and taking action to lower utility bills and ensure utilities are reliable and sustainable for Albertans now and into the future. While we're urging Albertans to explore their options, we've taken steps to protect those who may not be able to sign a competitive contract from sudden and volatile price spikes and provide predictability and peace of mind. New regulations for the default electricity rate came into effect on January 1st of this year and are part of this important work. For the next 2 years, the rate of last resort is set at approximately 12 cents a kilowatt hour. This is more than 60% lower than the peak price of 32 cents that we saw in 2023, and about the same as December's default electricity rate. The rate is set for 2 years at a time and can only be changed by a maximum of 10% to provide stability and predictability for Albertans. But these aren't the only changes to come into effect this year. The new rate confirmation requirement means that every 90 days, the Utilities Consumer Advocate will contact all customers who are still on the rate of last resort to confirm if they'd like to remain on the default rate and encourage them to explore other options that they have available to them. The rate of last resort providers will also have to clearly indicate to customers who are on the rate of last resort and inform those customers of their options in the competitive retail market. It's something we can't overemphasize, because when Albertans are on a tight budget, whether it's because they've recently moved here or they're facing the rising cost of living, they need to be able to keep more of their hard-earned dollars so they can be used where they're needed most. Our government will keep working extremely hard to review and modernize every part of the utility system and find places where we can help Albertans keep more of those dollars in their pockets. Thousands of Albertans have already made the move to a more affordable option, and I strongly encourage everyone to find out what rate you're on, and if it is the rate of last resort, now is the time to learn if there's something better that's available to you. If you need help with your utility bills, contact the Utilities Consumer Advocate by visiting ucahelps.ca. I will now turn the mic over to Yulia Halecka from the Centre of Newcomers to say a few words. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Yulia Halecka, and I work here at the Centre for Newcomers as a case manager, helping to address the needs of newcomers to make a successful transition to their new home in Calgary. I'm very glad to be part of today's announcement with Minister Neudorf and Government of Alberta. Newcomers are one of the foundations for Calgary's growing population, but unfortunately, affordability is the struggle for successful settlement. Part of welcoming people to our province and helping them to get settled is providing them with information they need to navigate their daily lives. And that includes knowing what their options are for affordable electricity. When people are moving here, there are so many things to get used to. Learn the language, find affordable housing, employment, get children registered for school, phone plans, daily shopping, and getting set up with utilities. It's a very long list. No matter where people are coming from, moving to a new place is a big adjustment and it can be very overwhelming. That's why the Center for Newcomers is here to answer questions and support people as they navigate so much change. Campaigns like this one can help by making it easier for people to understand their electricity options so they can choose the best rate and plan for them. Some newcomers may see their utilities reach up to $300 a month simply because they don't know what their options. That's why I'm so pleased to see that government raises awareness about electricity options, because having people and having support available makes a huge difference to ensuring newcomers can start to feel at home. Thank you.
All right, that concludes the formal portion of today's event. We'll now move on to a quick Q&A for the reporters in the room. There's a mic over here on the side, so you can line up there. I ask that all reporters state their name and their outlet, and we will limit it to one question, one follow-up. So we will start with questions in the room.
Awesome. Aaron Toombs, Live Wire, Calgary. Minister, can you give us an idea how many folks are actually on the rate of last resort right now?
Sure. Obviously, as you can imagine, it would fluctuate from month to month as people move in and out and around the province. Last number I heard, it was just over 400,000, down from roughly 700,000 the year before. So the movement on to better contracted rates is quite strong. We expect the number to roughly stay similar given the inflow-outflow within the province, and as we raise awareness, maybe a slight drop, but we hope that this ad campaign helps make people aware of what rate they're on.
Minister, follow-up. Obviously, part of the big issue with a lot of folks there is that they have bad credit, they can't get onto a contract there. The rate obviously helps them in that regard, being 12 cents there, but is the government maybe looking at maybe other options to get those folks with bad credit onto a better system than that 12 cents an hour?
Certainly, and there are many programs available to help those with bad credit. Some of our competitive retailers have programs specifically for them. Some of the other ministries in the province, like Seniors Community Social Services, also provide supports for those. So I would ask if someone isn't aware or isn't on but thinks they might qualify to reach out to the Utility Consumer Advocate. Again, the purpose of this program is to provide stability, so if you have nothing else, at least you're stable for a period of time to give yourself time to find better options for you. Thank you for the questions.
All right, and seeing no further questions in the room, we will go to the phones. Operator, please put through the first caller.
The first question is from Terry Tate from the Global Mail. Please go ahead.
Hi, Minister. Thanks for taking my question. You're among the few Alberta cabinet members going to Washington to the National Prayer Breakfast. Given Trump's economic possibilities towards Canada, with goalposts in their discussion, can you talk about why you think this style of diplomacy will be most effective and what benefits you hope to bring for Alberta and Canada?
Okay, thanks, Carrie. It was a little bit garbled, but I think you're asking about my trip to Washington, D.C. and the diplomacy there. Again, Alberta does a tremendous amount of trade with the U.S. and its states. Every time that we have a chance to talk about the strength of that relationship and how much it means to both Canadians and Americans, we should take advantage to do so. I think the diplomacy of the Premier to address the top concerns of the federal American government that's mutually beneficial has resulted in some abeyance of the said tariffs. Hopefully we'll see that go away completely, but strengthening those relationships so that they're well informed, I think is key, and making sure that we work with our stakeholders, counterparts in the United States, so that they do the work while we're not there is also key in diplomacy and finding the best future available for Albertans, Canadians, and Americans alike.
Did you have a follow-up?
Yes, thank you. Can you give us an idea of which policymakers you will be meeting with while you're there?
Certainly. There are many utilities provider and key stakeholders that operate on both sides of the border. Some of those key stakeholders are who I'm going to meet with and continue the advocacy of the relationship that we have. One of the strongest markets for electricity export is the Western United States, and we're seeking to learn from them, the lessons learned there, as well as strengthen our trade relationship. And these stakeholders would be part of that group.
And operator, please put through the next caller.
Sure. Next question is from Sean Amato from State News. Please go ahead.
Hi, Minister. We're seeing online, people saying that Danielle Smith is to thank for the delay in tariffs. We're seeing other people say it's Justin Trudeau since he made the deal. Where do you stand on this? Who do you think is to thank for this delay?
Well, obviously I have some allegiance to the Premier of this fine province. I think she's done tremendous work there, but I can also acknowledge that it's all hands on deck. And I think that Prime Minister Trudeau, in acknowledging some of the key concerns, border security, NATO spending, and illicit drug trade across the border is a top issue for the United States. Working collaboratively to address that in a meaningful way has helped put these off at least 30 days. I'm hopeful that continued actions on behalf of every provincial government and the federal government will continue, and that we will never see the realization of these tariffs and get back to a very strong, mutually beneficial trade relationship. So a little bit of credit all the way around.
Did you have a follow-up?
Last week, yes, thank you. Last week, I took word of your trip to the prayer and breakfast to the streets of Edmonton, and everybody I talked to said they didn't want to pay for that. They didn't see value in Alberta taxpayers putting in money for a prayer and breakfast trip. Can you please respond to that and explain to Albertans why you think this is value for tax dollars?
Yeah, that's a great question and a fair question. This trip has been planned for a long period of time, and I've amalgamated 2 trips into one with taxpayers in mind. That there are many key stakeholders that I needed to speak to for my file and ministry in Washington, and killing 2 birds with 1 stone, so to speak, is the most effective way to do that. The timing, as it happens with the trade relationship being a critical issue, I think makes that more imperative. And I've been in this position to serve Albertans, and Albertans' best interest would be to make sure that these tariffs never come into realization. Everything I can do to help Alberta's position in that, I think I should do. And basically combining 2 trips into one to save taxpayers' dollars is what I've tried to do to alleviate that concern.
And operator, please put through the next caller.
Your next question is from Catherine Gagowski from Alberta Today. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks. I'm just hoping to clarify. So today's announcement is about an ad campaign, an awareness campaign. It does nothing to change the fact that some people have no choice but to be on the rate of last resort. Am I understanding that correctly?
You are correct. There is a very small number of Albertans that don't have any other options, so the stability that we provide through the rate of last resort as compared to the RRO is significant. But the responsibility taken through the Utilities Consumer Advocate on behalf of the government to inform all ratepayers and provide avenues that they could explore is one that we take seriously, and that's what the ad campaign seeks to do, is inform and provide further options.
And again, on tariffs, I know BC Premier David Eby has talked about strengthening electricity interties between Alberta and BC. Have you had any conversations with your counterparts across the country about increasing interprovincial electricity?
I have had with many counterparts. As you know, the British Columbia government just had a recent election, and they appointed a new minister, Minister Adrian Dix, in this file. My office and his have been in communication. I think we have a meeting coming up in the next few days, maybe next few weeks, pardon me, to discuss further. But yes, we have talked, and we continue to talk to find the best mutually beneficial path forward so that we can strengthen our ties with British Columbia, Saskatchewan in particular, but also hopefully in the future Northwest Territories and eventually even strengthening our relationship and trade south of the border through Montana.
Operator, please put through the next caller.
Your next question is from Sean Pulser from Western Standard. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. So when we're talking about power exports across the border into the U.S., what does that look like in terms of tariffs, in terms of, say, a dollar value, and then how these tariffs would actually be calculated, given that the price of electricity is so volatile and changes by the minute and by the hour?
Yeah, great question. Historically, Alberta, with an energy-only market and a privately delivered generation market, we haven't exported a lot of electricity. We've basically been islanded and self-supply. That's one of the things that has driven the volatility of our pricing of late. Exploring the ability to export more is a huge potential for Alberta. The dollar value in the past has been slightly less than $100,000 a year. In comparison to British Columbia, Manitoba, Ontario, and Quebec, where they have a publicly controlled utility, they've exported $1.5 to $1.7 billion of electricity south of the border. So we think this is a huge potential for growth, not just for our private suppliers, but Alberta as an industry. And we think it's one way of sharing the costs that are built into our system through transmission in particular, that Albertans bear the full amount for right now. We think if we could export more, we could lower that price to them considerably while receiving a benefit for this whole economy. So that's sort of it in a nutshell. There's definitely a few complications and nuances, but that's the broad brush.
Well, thanks for that. That was actually a very good answer. Is there anything else in your portfolio that would be impacted by tariffs? Like, I know that your utilities and affordability, so what comes under that broader umbrella of affordability?
Yeah, it's definitely less than many other ministries, as mine is more provincially minded than others. We do have some interaction with the cost of natural gas, as it provides fuel for many of our utilities and many homes within Alberta. Electricity, of course, the trade would have some impact. We would seek to minimize that, as we want to see it as a growth. My ministry relates to many others in terms of auto insurance and affordable housing, the price of food as it relates to an input cost of electricity. So all of these things, maybe it's a secondary ministry in terms of the tariff impact, but the relationships and future potential are still significant, and we want to make sure that we're doing our part so that we aren't the weakest link in the chain, so to speak.
All right, and I believe we have time for one more caller. Operator, please put through the last caller.
The next question is from Darren Rathwell from City News. Please go ahead.
Thank you for taking the call. We've seen a significant reduction in people on diesel. Why is the
Sorry, it was very, very quiet. Would you mind repeating that question, please?
No, I was just saying you've mentioned that you've seen a significant reduction in people on diesel rates. Why do you need the campaigning?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Why do we need this ad campaign if there's a significant reduction of people on the default rate? Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, again, this is a collaborative effort between the government through the Utilities Consumer Advocate and our competitive retailers to help inform Albertans. Many Albertans had no idea that they were on a volatile rate, or didn't know because they were newcomers or first-time people living in Alberta. They didn't know that our market was different than British Columbia or Saskatchewan or Ontario. So this is really about a consumer awareness so that they can make the best choices for them. We have found in the past that many people, one of the number one complaints was that I didn't know. I just didn't know what rate I was on. Utility bills are somewhat overwhelming with all the information, as we have a very transparent bill with lots of line items. So this is predominantly about awareness, helping Albertans make the best choice for them. It would be wonderful at some point if we had very low to zero people on the rate of last resort. That would be the ultimate goal. But given the influx of population, given the nature of people selling a home and moving to another spot in the same city or the same province, we're expected to always have somewhere between 200 and 400,000 people on this rate because it is a default rate and often captures people in transition. And as long as Albertans are well informed and know their options, then they can make the best decisions for them. That's what we're seeking to do with this ad campaign.
I was also wondering how successful do you think the child pricing reforms have been so far?
Anybody get that?
I'm sorry, can you maybe shoot me an email and we will follow up? We're having a really hard time hearing you. Given that, we're going to wrap this up. Anybody who has any further questions can feel free to reach out to the contact information at the bottom of the news release. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you very much.